She was invisible. She was untouchable. She had the reputation of a loose woman. Everybody knew who she was. Everybody pointed her out in her village. People were ridiculing her, making fun of her, making her feel as invisible and untouchable person. It got so bad that she decided to avoid other people whatsoever. So when all the women would be going to the well in the morning, when the temperatures were not as high yet, she will be hiding in her home. At noon, where everybody was having siesta and hiding from the scorching sun of the Middle East, when she knew that nobody else would be at the well, that nobody would be making fun of her or pointing her out, that's when she was going to get her fresh water. So she wouldn't need to be bothered by other people. By that one day, there was someone else by the well, a stranger, male stranger, Jewish male stranger. She was afraid what he will do, what he will say. She was praying in her head, I want to be invisible to him too. I hope he won't notice. I hope he won't talk to me. What a surprise she experienced when he not only talked to her, but truly saw her. She saw her history. He knew her past, but he saw her as so much more. That her history, her mistakes, her shame, and her guilt. He saw her as an image of God, as a person with intrinsic dignity, as a person whose identity as a child of God is so much more than all her mistakes, shame, and guilt. It did not happen for a long time in her life to be seen as someone more than the sum of my mistakes. It was such a refreshing experience to be truly noticed and appreciated as a human person. That encounter transformed her life. That meeting transformed the life of her village. Because once she knew that this person is someone special, her guilt and shame evaporated. She went back to her village and told everyone, I know what you think of me, but you have to come with me and meet this person. Now, when the apostles came back to Jesus, the gospel says they were amazed to see him talk to a woman, this woman. You see, Jesus was getting reputation for hanging out with the wrong crowd. They were amazed, I would say scandalized. What? You are talking to her? You know how it looks from public relations perspective? You will never be elected to any office if someone takes a picture of you two talking together. You see, this is what Jesus does. When we think of our shame and guilt and all the mistakes we have made, he looks through them and beyond them. And he sees the image of God that each single one of us carries in our hearts. No matter what you have done in your life, no matter what people think and say about you, you are something more than that. You are made in God's image. You are God's beloved child. And once you accept this encounter with Jesus, your life will never be the same. Once you know that he sees you and recognizes your dignity, your life will never go back. To be seen is one of the biggest miracles of life. To be truly noticed as a person is the biggest gift we can ever receive. At this difficult time, we are encouraged to keep our distance from people. We are encouraged not to shake hands. I see we're doing elbow bumps before the Mass started. The fancy word is social distancing. Don't go out if you don't have to. Stay safe, lock yourself in after you buy 26 rolls of toilet paper. But the danger is that we will be like this woman at the well, left alone and lonely. So even though social distancing is something we need to practice to stay healthy, I invite you to do what Jesus did with this woman, to see the person next to you. Perhaps in Walmart, perhaps waiting for green light on the street, or perhaps your friend or cousin you haven't talked to for a while. Just because we have to stay in our homes does not mean that we have to be invisible to others. Thank goodness we have internet. Thank goodness we all have smartphones, much smarter than ourselves. Let's use them. When you are sitting in your sofa and wondering, this is day 7th of my self-isolation, Call someone you haven't called in a while. Maybe FaceTime or Skype with them. Perhaps write a letter you've been trying to write for many, many months, if not years. Notice people and notice their dignity. Even though we cannot perhaps give a hug to each other for the next few weeks, perhaps we cannot touch each other for a time being, we can still transform the lives of others the way that Jesus did. Social distancing doesn't mean being invisible and untouchable. You can touch someone's life by a phone call, by a message, by a letter. Give them dignity, give them pride, give them new quality of life, because this is what Jesus gives us. If Jesus was living in India, I think that if he met this woman, he would start by saying Namaste, which means I bow to you, I recognize the divine image in you. Namaste comes from Sanskrit. It means I bow to you. So today, when the time comes for the sign of peace, do Namaste bow to the people around you and truly see them. Not as your old crazy husband, not as someone you've been dealing with for too long, but see that person as God's child, as the image of God, and say, Namaste, I bow to you. Amen.